Of all the silhouetted characters in the 5.3 livestream, one sneaky little mystery Pokemon has piqued our interest in particular. And no, it is not the fickle cowgirl. It's been all but confirmed that this is Skirk, and she has stood out with more hype than any other character in a long time. Aside from Mawika, of course, because she's the Pyro Archon, and Capitano, who's rotting in a chair. Now, if you don't know, Skirk is Child's master. When Child was 14, he stumbled into the abyss, where Skirk found him and took him under her wing to teach him how to harness abyssal power, or power from beyond. She's also responsible for teaching Child his foul legacy state, which, in my opinion, is the coolest transformation in the entire game. Now, why is she herself so anticipated? Well, basically, if she could teach Child how to do that, imagine what she herself can do. It's gotta be sick. And we all got a little taste of the power that she had in 4.2, when we were fighting the all-devouring Narwhal. She uses this weird abyssal power to basically atomize this chunky fella into a small black hole and chucked it into a rift that she created. Dope. Now, at this point, it was never confirmed that Skirk was going to be playable. All we really knew was eventually we were going to see her and Child again, because where the f*** did she even throw him? So now, with the confirmation that she's going to be playable almost a year later, it's got me speculating. What kind of weapon is she going to have? Is she going to do some cool teleporting, rift opening travel mechanic? And most importantly, what's her power? As for her weapon, it's essentially confirmed that she's going to be a sword character, considering she assumed that she'd have to swing her sword 3 million times as punishment for letting Child and the Narwhal fight. Although there are two types of swords. There's the regular sword and the claymore, but Child also says this in one of his voice lines.
It's been years since I last saw my master. I should hope the next we meet, I'll at least be able to force her to use both hands to beat me.
So, lore-wise, she's been using one hand, which typically means a regular sword. Now, is that hard evidence? But it is likely. Claymore characters have a more rugged, kind of hardcore appearance, and sword characters have a more majestic and fluid presence, which Skirk for sure has. And she taught Child how to dual wield as part of his skill, so chances are high that she's going to be a dual wielding sword character, whether it's part of her skill like it is with Child, or it's just part of her base kit. Now, we have to talk about her power, which I'm most excited for. Now, this has not been officially stated yet. Sometimes, when characters come out, in cutscenes or in trailers, you can squeak out a little glimpse of a vision hiding on the character before their release, like Chaska in one of the live streams. Now, for Skirk, in her handful of cutscenes, we haven't seen any vision of any kind whatsoever. And just like Chaska, it wouldn't even be reliable if we did, since hers ended up being wrong. So now we're forced to speculate with no indication whatsoever. But honestly, she doesn't even use an element that would warrant a vision. She doesn't throw rocks. She doesn't control trees. She doesn't make a windy, swirly slibadoo. No, she breaks holes in reality. Now, there's tons of forums saying that she's going to be Cryo, simply because of her color scheme, and the weird prism move she did on the Narwhal kinda resembles Freeze in some vague way, but I don't see it. Some also say she's going to be Electro for the same color scheme reasons, and because she taught Child that foul legacy state in which he uses Electro, but that came from his delusion, not the state. So none of these feel right to me. The prism move she did on the Narwhal honestly looks a little more like a crystally Geo reaction than anything. After seeing what she can do, I think most people would be pretty disappointed if she just used a regular element. Now, we've known for a while now the crossover between Genshin and ZZZ and their strong character similarities. They're no stranger to taking what works well in Genshin and using them in ZZZ. But what about the other way around? Miyabi was a super hyped character that came out recently. Her cutscene was insane, and everyone wanted her because of this. Originally, she was anticipated to be just an ice unit. Hoyo decided to get a little experimental. They ever so slightly altered the look and function of the ice element to be a hybrid of ice and I guess some sort of ghost element to create frost. Now, ice creates a freeze anomaly, but frost creates a frost burn anomaly. Now the thing is, you build her as you would a normal ice character, so it really doesn't change the mechanics of the game too drastically. Now Miyabi was received very well, so who's to say they won't take the lesson they learned there and just apply it to Skirk. Now I know Genshin's been out for a few years now, and it would be weird to just kind of release a flavor of cryo instead of just using the element itself. But hey, if they could introduce a motorcycle on a character who had not a glimpse of one in their entire backstory, I wouldn't put this past them. So it's possible that she just might be a unit that uses an existing element just a little differently. Like maybe she'll be able to freeze without the use of hydro. Or maybe if she's electro, she'll be able to like paralyze people or something. Hell, I mean, Zhongli has his own mechanic entirely with Petrified. Why can't there be another? Or maybe, just maybe, she introduces a whole new mechanic altogether. She controls a different power and lives outside of the realm of Tevat, where the rest of the elements live. She would have no reason to be able to control them. What if she introduces the dark element? In the 5.3 live stream, the hosts mentioned that over the next 6 months, we will slowly accumulate these characters. Now, if that's true, then the latest we'll see Skirk is at the start of the June 17th banner in version 5.7. And we haven't had a new substantial mechanic added to the game since 3.0 with Dendro. So that's about the same time from release to Dendro as it is from Dendro to now. Maybe it's time for something new. Now, this dark element could only interact with a couple of elements. Maybe it'll interact with physical in some way and bring it out of its long-awaited hibernation. Or maybe it reacts with nothing and it just replaces physical altogether. We all know that the Abyss has to be beaten at some point in this monster of a story. But is Hydro going to be the element that does it? Are we just going to chuck rocks at the Abyss with Geo? Probably not. We're likely going to introduce Light at some point. So if we're going to beat Dark with Light, then we would have to introduce a Dark character at some point, right? And what better time than now with the release of the first Abyss character? Now, of course, this is all speculation. I don't do any deep dives into leaks, aside from the occasional sketchy AI-voiced Genshin channels that try to get everyone to use loot bar for some reason. That said, it is fun to speculate the possibilities. Hoyoverse has taken a strange direction lately with some of the world building and the character designs that feel pretty unimmersive compared to the feeling we got in the early versions of the game. It's lost a little bit of its roots in some way. There's a huge opportunity here for Genshin to bring it back and make a solid decision that actually meshes well with the story they've created for the past year around this character. Am I hopeful? Yeah. Is that realistic? Anyway, let me know what you think she's gonna be, and I guess we'll see who's right in the next 4 months. That's all I got for you today. See you for the next one. Ciao.